Welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're tackling a real head-scratcher. The Rohan Codex.
A bit of a departure from our usual sources, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. This isn't your typical historical document. 448 pages jam-packed with these bizarre symbols. No one's been able to figure them out. It's like something straight out of a Indiana Jones movie, you know?
Well, minus the booby traps and giant rolling boulders, hopefully.
Right.
Huh.
But yeah, the Codex has this real aura of mystery around it.
It definitely captures the imagination.
Okay, so let's get down to business. What's the deal with this book? Where did it even come from?
Well, that's part of the enigma. It just sort of appeared in Hungary in the early 1800s. 1838, to be exact.
Poof, out of thin air.
Practically, or at least that's where its documented history begins. This Count Gustav Bathiny, he donated it to the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, along with his entire library, actually.
Wow, talk about a generous donation. It must have been one heck of a library.
It was. And the Codex has been there ever since. Under lock and key, access is incredibly restricted, you know? You need special permission just to get a glimpse of it.
Really? Why all the secrecy?
No one knows for sure. It fuels all sorts of speculation, of course, like they're hiding something big.
Did they ever try to, analyze the book? Carbon dating or whatever they do with old stuff?
Oh, yeah. They did a high-resolution scan back in 2015.
So did that solve the mystery?
Not even close. They only released 8 pages out of over 400.
Seriously? 8 pages? What's the point of even doing a scan if you're only going to release a tiny fraction?
That's what everyone's asking. It just adds to the intrigue, right?
Absolutely. So what about the book itself? What does it actually look like?
Well, physically, it's not that impressive. Relatively small, about the size of a paperback, you know?
Okay, so not some massive ancient tome?
Nope. But it's dense. 448 pages, each one crammed with these weird symbols, row after row after row.
Those symbols. That's where things get really interesting, right? They're unlike anything we've ever seen. It's like an alien language or something.
Totally. And there are hundreds of unique symbols. Way more than any known alphabet.
So what are we dealing with here? An alphabet. A code. Hieroglyphs.
That's the million-dollar question. Could it be a gigantic alphabet? Maybe a syllabary, where each symbol represents a syllable.
What's a syllabary?
Think Japanese or Cherokee. Each character stands for a sound rather than a letter. Or maybe it's a logographic system.
Logographic, like what Chinese characters?
Exactly, where symbols represent entire words or ideas.
Wow. So a single symbol could hold a ton of meaning.
Exactly. And to make things even trickier, the margins are justified on the right.
Right. Justified. What does that mean?
It means the writing goes from right to left.
That's weird. Like Hebrew or Arabic.
Exactly. But those scripts have very different symbols. This is something else entirely.
Okay, so imagine for a moment you're an AI researcher, you get handed this book. Where would you even begin?
Well, an AI wouldn't get bogged down in all the human assumptions and biases we have about language.
That's true.
So it would probably start by looking for patterns. Purely mathematical analysis, like how often certain symbols appear together, if there are repetitions, structures that resemble known linguistic features.
Fascinating. So we had this book written in who knows what language, potentially from who knows when. How on earth do we even start to figure it out?
Well, there have been a few theories, of course, some more convincing than others. One of the earliest was this idea that it's connected to Old Hungarian.
Ah, so maybe a lost language from right there in Hungary.
Yeah, that was the thinking. A scholar named Nemati, he was really pushing that idea back in the late 1800s. He saw some similarities to these ancient Hungarian runes called ravasias.
Makes sense. Trying to find a local connection, but that's just one theory, right?
Oh, there are plenty more where that came from. In 2002, a Romanian philologist, Viorica Ignatiuc, she came out with a complete different interpretation.
Oh, Ignatiuc. I've heard her name before.
Yeah, she's a bit controversial. She claimed the Codex was written in this Dacian dialect of Vulgar Latin. And her translation, well, it painted a pretty wild picture.
Really? What did it say?
According to her, it's a historical chronicle of the Vlach people, talking about battles against the Hungarians and Pechenegs, all this stuff, supposedly from around the 11th or 12th century.
A history book. So we might actually have a window into a lost era.
That's what Inakiyik claimed. But her work has been criticized, let's say.
Criticize? How so?
Well, for one thing, Dacian is practically a ghost language. We have very little evidence of what it actually sounded like, how it was structured, so translating a whole book based on that is, well, a bit of a stretch.
I see. It's like trying to build a house with only half the blueprints.
Exactly, and some historians have pointed out that the events Kiyik describes in her translation, they don't really line up with what we know about history.
So maybe some creative liberties were taken.
It's possible, and her actual transliteration, the way she matches up symbols to sounds, it's been called into question too. Not very consistent, apparently.
Okay, so we have one theory saying Old Hungarian, another saying Dacian. Two totally different languages, two completely different stories.
And it gets wilder because in 2004, this Indian scholar named Mahesh Kumar Singh, he threw his hat in the ring.
Another contender. What did he come up with?
Brace yourself. He claimed the codex is written in a variation of the Brahmi script.
Brahmi. Like from ancient India.
That's the one.
What? Indian script in a Hungarian book. How does that even make sense?
Your guess is as good as mine. But Singh's theory didn't stop there. He also claimed the content wasn't historical at all.
Oh, what was it then?
A lost gospel.
A gospel. Like a religious text.
Exactly, an apocryphal gospel, to be precise, one that wasn't included in the Bible.
So we've gone from Hungarian history to Dacian battles to a lost Indian gospel. Is there anything this book doesn't contain?
Honestly, it's enough to make your head spin. Hungarian, Dacian, ancient Indian, a lost gospel. It's like we're dealing with multiple Rohan codexes, each existing in its own parallel universe.
It really is, and that's what makes it so fascinating, right? This book is a blank canvas onto which everyone projects their own theories and interpretations.
It's the ultimate Rorschach test for historians and linguists.
But before we get too carried away with these theories, I think there's a bigger question we need to address. A question that looms over everything we've talked about so far.
You're talking about the elephant in the room, right?
Exactly. Is the Rohan Codex even real, or is it all one giant hoax? I mean, it wouldn't be the first time a historical artifact turned out to be a fake.
Oh, absolutely not. History is full of forgeries and hoaxes. People have been trying to pull the wool over others' eyes for centuries.
So let's dive into that side of the Rohan Codex debate. What's the evidence for it being a hoax? Who are the main suspects?
Well, one of the earliest and most vocal critics was this Hungarian historian, Károly Szabó. Back in 1866, he came out swinging, claiming the codex was a total fabrication.
And what was his reasoning?
He pointed the finger at a guy named Samuel Literati Naimes.
Naimes. YM.
Well, Naimes was kind of a notorious figure, known for forging all sorts of historical documents, especially stuff related to Hungarian history.
Ah, so Szabó saw this book with its crazy symbols and thought, this has Naimes written all over it.
Basically, yeah. He figured Naimes was trying to create some kind of fake national treasure, something to stir up patriotic sentiment.
Interesting, but is there any actual proof that Naimes was involved? Or is it just speculation?
That's the tricky part. There's no smoking gun, no signed confession from Naimes, no eyewitness accounts of him hunched over the codex, painstakingly drawing those symbols.
So it's all circumstantial.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But the suspicion has lingered. A lot of Hungarian scholars still believe it's a forgery, even today.
I guess when you have a known forger lurking around, it casts a shadow of doubt on everything.
Definitely. You start to wonder what else could be fake. What can we really trust?
But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Let's say it's not a hoax. Let's say someone really did create this elaborate code for whatever reason.
Okay, yeah. Let's entertain that possibility.
Who are the big proponents of the encoded message theory?
Well, one of the most prominent voices in recent years has been this researcher named Benedict Lang. He's done a lot of work on the codex, analyzing the symbols, looking for patterns.
And what's his take? Why does he believe it's a genuine code?
His argument hinges on the idea of intentionality. He says the script is way too complex, too structured to be just a random jumble of symbols.
So he's saying there's a method to the madness.
Precisely. Lang believes someone deliberately crafted this code for a specific purpose. The question is, what purpose? And what kind of code are we talking about?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Is it a simple substitution cipher, like one symbol equals one letter?
Could be. But Lang has also explored other possibilities. Maybe it's a shorthand system, like ancient scribes used to jot down notes quickly. or even a constructed language, something completely invented.
A made-up language.
Uh,
Whoa! Now that's a wild idea.
Right. Imagine the effort it would take to create a whole new language just to encode a message.
It boggles the mind. Hey, remember how we were talking about AI earlier? I wonder if an AI could tell us if this is a constructed language.
That's a really interesting thought. I mean, an AI could analyze the structure of the script, the frequency of symbols, how they combine. Maybe it could pick up on patterns that point to a deliberately designed language rather than a naturally evolved one.
It's incredible to think we might have the technology to solve this ancient mystery.
Hmm.
But let's get back to those who are trying to crack the code using good old-fashioned human brain power. I know there have been some intriguing developments in recent years.
There have, yeah. Two researchers in particular have made some headway, Gabor Tokaj and Levente Zoltan Kirali.
Tokaj and Kirali.
Yeah. They were working independently, but both of them stumbled upon these recurring chunks of code within the codex, and they think those chunks might represent biblical references.
Wait, biblical references? So they're actually starting to decipher parts of the text?
Not fully deciphered, no, but they're seeing hints of familiar names, places, maybe even phrases from the Bible.
That's huge. If they're right, it would lend credence to that theory that the codex contains some kind of lost gospel, right?
It would definitely be a major piece of the puzzle. And it gets even more interesting, because they also claim to have found potential year numbers within the text.
Year numbers. So we might actually know when it was written.
Well, it's not that simple. Their analysis suggests the year 1593.
1593.
Huh.
But the paper itself is from the 1530s, right? How does that work?
Exactly, it doesn't quite add up. Unless
What?
the writing on the 1530s paper is actually a copy, a transcription of an even older text.
A secret message passed down through the generations. Now we're really getting into Dan Brown territory.
Yeah. It's definitely a twist worthy of a thriller novel. But Tokaj and Kirali, they didn't stop there. They dug even deeper and came up with a pretty radical idea.
What's that?
They think the writing system isn't a straightforward cipher, like one symbol equals one letter. They believe it's something much more complex.
So not a simple substitution code?
Then what? They call it a code system, where the symbols act more like ideograms, each one representing a concept or idea rather than a single sound.
So it's more like hieroglyphics than an alphabet.
In a way, yeah. And based on this theory, they came to a conclusion about the content of the codex.
What do they think it is?
They believe it's a Catholic reader.
A reader? What's that?
Basically a collection of prayers, scriptures, maybe some hymns and devotional texts, stuff a devout Catholic might read on a regular basis.
Okay, that makes sense. It fits with the potential biblical references they found.
Yeah. They think it's full of paraphrased passages from the New Testament, especially the Gospels, along with prayers to Mary and some other non-biblical stories sprinkled in.
So let's recap. We have Tokaj and Kirali saying it's a coded Catholic reader, Singh saying it's a lost Indian gospel, and Anakik claiming it's a Dacian history book. Three wildly different theories, each one more mind-boggling than the last.
And let's not forget the hoax theory, still lurking in the background. The Rohan Codex is a puzzle box with so many layers. It's like an onion. Every time you peel back one layer, you just find another one underneath.
It really is. But despite all our efforts, all our analysis and speculation, the Codex still holds its secrets close.
It's a stubborn little book, isn't it? But that's part of its allure. The Rohan Codex is a reminder that there are still mysteries out there, things we may never fully understand.
And that's okay. Maybe the journey is more important than the destination.
Maybe so. The Codex has sparked so much curiosity, so much debate and research. It's pushed people to think outside the box, to challenge conventional wisdom, and that's valuable in itself.
You know, as we've been talking, I keep thinking about those illustrations. We focused a lot on the symbols, the language, the hoax versus code debate. But the illustrations themselves, they seem like a whole other piece of the puzzle.
Oh, absolutely. They're not just decorative, you know? They seem to be woven into the text, almost like visual clues.
And remember, we're talking about a mix of Christian, pagan, and Islamic imagery. So pretty unique, right?
Incredibly unique. It's as if the creator of the Codex was drawing on all sorts of different traditions, blending them together into something new.
It makes you wonder, what was going through their mind? What were they trying to say, to express through these images?
Imagine you're an art historian seeing these illustrations for the first time. What jumps out at you? Are there any symbols or motifs that seem out of place? Could they be hinting at something deeper?
It's fascinating to think about, and it just highlights how complex this mystery really is. We have the linguistic puzzle, the historical puzzle, and now this visual puzzle.
And they're all intertwined, like threads in a tapestry, each one potentially holding a clue to the bigger picture.
So where do we go from here? Is there any hope of ever truly cracking the code?
I think there's always hope. New technologies, new research methods, new perspectives, all of these could contribute to our understanding of the Codex. And let's not underestimate the power of human ingenuity. Someone, somewhere, might have that flash of insight, that aha moment that unlocks the whole thing.
Like a relay race, right?
Yeah.
Each generation of researchers passing the baton, building on the work of those who came before, getting a little closer to the finish line, even if we never quite reach it.
Exactly. The Rohan Codex may never give up all its secrets, but it spurred this amazing journey of discovery. And that journey is still ongoing.
So to our listener out there, if you've been bitten by the Rohana Codex bug, don't stop digging. There's so much more to explore. Dive into the research, study those illustrations, maybe even try your hand at deciphering the symbols.
You never know. You might be the one to make the next big breakthrough. After all, every great discovery starts with a spark of curiosity.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the mysterious world of the Rohan Codex. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop learning. It's amazing, isn't it? We've gone through all these theories, all this analysis, and we're still left with more questions than answers.
That's the Rohan Codex for you. Always one step ahead.
You know, it makes me think about all those researchers who've dedicated years, even decades, to trying to crack this code. What keeps them going?
I think it's the same drive that motivates any explorer, any scientist, any artist, really. That urge to understand, to uncover the unknown, to push the boundaries of human knowledge.
It's like a puzzle, right? You just can't resist trying to solve it.
Exactly. And this puzzle, the Rohan Codex, it's a particularly challenging one. It's like a Rubik's Cube on steroids.
But even if we never fully solve it, even if we're left with some pieces missing, the process itself is valuable, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The journey is just as important as the destination. All the research, all the different theories, all the debates, they've all contributed to our understanding of history, linguistics, even human psychology.
It's like the Codex has become this catalyst for a whole new field of study.
In a way, yeah. It's forced people to think differently, to consider possibilities they might never have thought of before.
And maybe that's the real legacy of the Rohana Codex. It's not just about deciphering a text. It's about expanding our horizons, our understanding of what's possible.
I like that. It's a reminder that there are still mysteries out there, waiting to be discovered, secrets that might challenge everything we thought we knew.
So to our listener out there, if you're fascinated by the Rohana Codex, don't let the mystery intimidate you. Dive in, explore the research, look at those illustrations, maybe even try your hand at deciphering some symbols.
Who knows, you might stumble upon something amazing.
That's the beauty of it, right? The answers could be out there just waiting for someone with a fresh perspective, a new way of looking at things to unlock them.
Exactly, and that someone could be you.
On that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the world of the Rohana Codex. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop learning.